Today, we're going to take a few minutes to walk through Scante's white labeled IIoT platform and a specific customer implementation of it that's been around for several years and that they've iterated on and is worth us walking through again. I'm a CEO and a co-founder of Scante, and we've been basically doing IoT systems since before they were called that. With a deep background in sensors and IoT platforms and connectivity. And these days, lots of AI processing of that IoT data and its use in primarily OEM environments and industrial service environments. So we're not an LLM AI shop. We are a regression modeling predictive AI shop. With a heavy emphasis on machine learning for folks, with just a 100% focus on customer-oriented systems. So that's what we're going to look through today. Scante, is about 15 years old at this point, and we have a very wide range of customers, primarily in industrial spaces, some commercial and consumer, but with a heavy emphasis on machine building OEMs and service providers into industrial and commercial markets. So we're going to walk through a system that's alive, actually, and in use. And then we're going to talk a little bit about why this matters at this point in the evolution of IoT and AI and customer experience. A little bit about the benefits and some of the realities of putting a system like this out with, your Q&A, anything that you would like to know in detail, we'll try to go through. So I'm going to flip over real quickly to a browser, and we're going to look at the Booth Connect system. So Booth Connect is the brand of online connectivity for global finishing solutions. Global is a very large manufacturer of paint booths. So these booths range in size from tabletops for small parts all the way up to marine applications and aerospace applications that are basically whole buildings or whole airplane hangars that are configured as paint booths. And they're used in military applications. They have literally 100,000 units out in body shops around the country. And the goal of the Booth Connect system is to bring all of these disparate units from many manufacturers and from GFS's own manufacturing into a comprehensive management system where we can see the data from these widely distributed booths around North America and overseas, and begin to manage the consumables and the service flow for these while providing an absolute top-notch experience for the end users of these booths. So we're going to log in to this system, and we're going to start to see this particular login is configured for an executive or a regional management person at an end user customer. There are lots of levels to the Scante system. So within Booth Connect, we have end user applications. We have internal GFS service personnel who can log into the system and see different views and achieve lots of back-end functionality with regard to the booths. They can see technical manuals. They can see schematics wherever they might be in the world. They can access GFS repositories of information, and they can look at the IoT data coming off any of the booths that they're authorized to see. But as an end user, we have an entirely different set of needs, particularly as an executive user, where we might want to see our various regions that we're responsible for and have a sort of top level performance oriented view, which is summaries of the IoT data. What pops up first for these folks in this configuration is what we call the portfolio dashboard. And this compiles the IoT data from hundreds of booths, maybe thousands for some customers, and provides us with a very quick hit list of the best performing booths, most efficient, most number of cycles, productivity metrics, right? These are KPIs that they care about. Who's using the most energy, who's using the least. We can switch over to the bottom performing reporting where we can see the worst locations and the worst booths. We've got mouse over data for all of these, who's using their booths the least, and cycles. Now, this is an ad hoc presentation. All of this data is actually summarized on a weekly basis and delivered via PDF reporting to subscribed users for their particular areas of responsibility. So there's a lot of flexibility in how we're presenting the data, and we're going to show you more and more of those things. So first, we, as an executive user, we come into the portfolio dashboard, and then we can flip over to the locations that we're authorized for, and this is the several hundred booths that are set up for that particular user, and we can click into one of these. So we have the general booth info, when they were active, what kind of filter life they have remaining, whether they're subscribed or not subscribed, and the subscription is a paid subscription to this service, and we handle all the billing for that in cooperation with and data exchange with GFS's internal and web systems, their shopping cart functionality and their tax functionality and everything else. But we're going to flip over to first the booth dashboard here, where we can see the detailed data, IoT data coming off of any particular booth. We see the info for it. We see its status up here at the top. Right now it's idle. We see its daily uptime metric and its power consumption. And then we have a series of pressures, because paint booths are really all about airflow and air quality. So the filters in the system, and there's multiple, are the critical consumable component and a major reliability issue. So one of the key goals here is to optimize filter efficiency and replacement intervals. And that's the main overriding goal of the system, because that drives booth reliability and paint quality overall. So we have the opportunity now to integrate service optimization and consumables optimization just by looking at a few simple metrics coming off the machine. And we find this to be the case almost across the board with machinery in the world. We can typically, or you already have identified a key set of metrics that are main drivers of either your consumables or your services or proper preventive maintenance, overall the ideal customer usage of your machines. And we can plot this stuff, and we can dashboard it, and we can report on it, and we can notify on it. And that's what the Booth Connect system does. So we can look here at the dashboard. We can go back to the booth list, and we can look at operating metric graphs. And this tool gives us a plotting tool, trending tool for all of these various metrics. So we can look at operating current versus booth pressure. And we can play around with this. And we have canned versions of this that we'll deliver in sort of summary reporting via PDF and email. But this ad hoc tool allows end users to log in anytime and to see any of their booths that they're authorized for in great detail and at data frequency and summary that is applicable to that particular system. There's lots of sort of off-the-shelf dashboarding tools and so on. But here, GFS is invested with Scante in in providing really highly tuned tools for their own machines, and then sharing that out with their end user group, right? So it's a customer facing IoT system, but it's really a customer experience tool. We're trying to provide the absolute best end user experience and ownership of their equipment. And that drives all of the service revenue and all of the consumables revenue, which are major high margin business units for or profit centers for GFS. So we can go back to locations and we can look very quickly. We have a raw data download. Some customers want to be able to download specific information about their booths on a regular basis. There is actually a full customizable API behind the Booth Connect system, and all interactions with the backend system are via API. So that's a major security issue. But it also allows us to do direct API integration for large end user customers. So with other Scante customers, we, for example, do Target's standby generator monitoring. We do, with another customer, we do large amount of oil quality sensing in a huge range of different kinds of industrial fluid applications. And people may want to do API integration into their own internal business intelligence systems, and Scante can provide that. And then the last unit is a filter change tool that allows us to look at the consumables usage in these booths. There's a full back-end system of managing end users of the application at a particular customer. So as a admin of these tools at the end user customer, I can come in and manage my own users. So GFS is not on the hook to manage the thousands of end users out there. We push that out to the end user customer for them to do. You can look at what reporting we've pulled up, and all of that's available on an ad hoc basis for folks. And then we have full internal systems so that end users can manage their own interactions with the system. They can manage their own passwords and usernames. They can log into notifications and choose what alerts and alarms they want to receive and how they receive them via SMS or email. We actually have some customers for whom we do telephone voice alerting. And all of these tools are available to the end user 24/7 through the system. So that's a quick look at the basics of a typical Scante system. These applications in their typical initial form are pretty quick to implement. We usually have a 2.5 to 3 month time frame to have a operating system up and running for folks. It's relatively quick. It usually goes actually much quicker on the Scante side. Most of the times we'll have a system up and available for our customers to be looking at and iterating on within days or at most a week. And the timeline that we put out there of the 3 months, usually it takes that long for our OEM customers to finalize exactly what they'd like to see in the system. Some have a really detailed vision that they've been thinking about for a decade, but that's very rare. Most times they have some kind of initial idea. We need to do something. They need to see it. They need to test it out with a small group of end user customers that are friendly to them, or that have, interesting and worthwhile applications to solve, and then iterate on that. And that's the real beauty of the Scante system, because the whole operation, none of it is custom software. It's all database configurable. There's an enormous amount of code behind that, but for your purposes, it's very easy to iterate and change things. These are active web applications rather than native apps that would go into the App Store. We do have native app components that can be provided, and some of our customers do that, where we have a lot of intensive interaction with the end user customer using the cameras or something like that. But in general, we like to at least start customers out with a web application first, because then we don't have the overhead of dealing with the app stores all the time, anytime we want to make a change to the system. And we will almost certainly make a lot of changes as you iterate and figure out exactly what the high value propositions for these systems are for your particular customers and your equipment. So that's essentially the quick walkthrough. Let me flip back to our list here. So one of the key reasons these systems matter now is that we are solidly in the AI and machine learning era, and users, particularly OEMs, are thinking about how they're almost certainly using some AI, but it's probably confined to areas like marketing and writing tasks, and maybe they're doing some agentic automation of various systems. But most users have not been able to apply AI in what we would have thought 10 or 15 years ago were the real reasons for it, which are predictive analytics. And the reason for that is that large language models are not the mode that you want to be using for these kinds of predictions. The right way is actually to have much smaller regression-based AI models. So that's what we specialize in. You want to produce predictive metrics for machine failure, productivity, consumables usage, whole range of possibilities. And the best way to do those is to take a data set that's almost certainly going to be IoT data that we're going to use to train AI regression models to do predictions for you. And so you got to have the IoT data first. Now, hopefully you've been doing some data collection for a long time. If not, you should have started yesterday, and Scante can help you with that, because we're going to train these predictive models on failure data and general operating data that's going to come in via IoT connectivity. And that's why these systems matter. And one of the major value propositions for that is to deliver these predictive metrics out to end users who are living with your equipment and services every day. So that kind of touches on the benefits as well. We're really trying to use these tools to become serious profit and revenue drivers in areas like long-term services, warranty, consumables, and customer experience, customer satisfaction. So implementation and integration realities for a second. As I said, these are typically, we like to try to define an initial project that's a 2 to 3 month rollout. Sometimes that's difficult, sometimes it's easy. But the key idea is to go simple first and then iterate. People who decide they have to have the kitchen sink and the whole thing polished to perfection literally don't know enough about their own needs and desires to get to that endpoint. And we see a lot of projects in the IoT space with ourselves and others over the years have failed because of those reasons. So let's define a simple data set that's valuable to your end users and yourself. And let's get that data flowing. And then let's design an interface that's useful for the end user customers, useful for your internal service people or customer support people, and start delivering notifications and reporting and interacting on a deep level about the operations of your equipment in the field at your end user customers. These processes, for example, we did a large initial app implementation that started in, I want to say April, May of last year. And these folks were under the gun. They had to deliver a fully rolled out production ready system in the fall. And over a 3-month time frame, we went from spec to rolling out 2,000 connected units over a 3.5 month time frame. Now, cost-wise, that was a more expensive application than we usually do. That was almost a $400,000 development process because there was a lot of specialty connectivity that had to be developed. For most OEMs, that's not the case. You're using off-the-shelf gateways, you're using off-the-shelf sensing, or you already have the data that you want coming into your PLC on the unit, and those are very easy connectivities these days. There are commercial gateways who already speak the language of your PLCs. You can use them, or you are already using them. A lot of remote access devices that your service people are using to access the automation at the field without going there can also send us data, or there's an upgrade available to those units that can then send us data. And that data flow that's off the shelf radically speeds up this process and reduces the costs. So even though that was a $400,000 implementation and we were able to roll out, 2,000 live paying customers at the end of that 3-month period, and it's now a significant revenue generator for them with just shy of, 6,000 end users in the system. A typical project is a $50,000 to $100,000 application system. So then that's the Scante side, and there will be some costs associated with the gateways and so on. The typical monthly costs for these units, the SaaS costs are in the neighborhood of $2,500 a month, and that covers all of the back-end infrastructure. It covers security. It covers bug fixing and support of your personnel, not your end users, but you. So unlimited email and text support. And then there's a per connected device charge that ranges anywhere from a few dollars up to, say, 10 to 15 if we're doing intensive AI work and predictive analytics on that incoming data stream. And we think it's likely that you will be, or you will want to be very soon, doing those kinds of AI analytics and providing that value for your end user customers. But you don't have to have that all defined in order to really get the ball rolling. And the real deal is to start getting that IoT data flowing from your end users back to a centralized system. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.